want that anymore.
See, I'm old school. That's how old school I
Yeah,
am.
me too. Don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, that's fine. You have so much information on the subject, you know. I was just listening to you and try to ask some question, but I was really just learning during the interview and listening to what you had to say. Hey friends, we continue with the marriage series, and my guest today is somebody that you want to know, that you want to subscribe to, because she has a lot to teach you. A subject, it's an important subject. It's not the common, the usual conversation that I have on the channel, but it's one that it's much needed. She has a lot to teach us with her experience. She's very knowledgeable on the subject. So, without spending too much time talking here, let me introduce you to the wonderful, wonderful lady that I call my friend. YouTube, thank you for bringing such wonderful people in my life. So,
Hi.
hello. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Jazz. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Doing good.
I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I'm
Yeah.
my channel is not a great subject to talk about with a lot of people, so I'm glad you wanted to have me on.
I think, in contrary, I really think that, let me just add something here. I really think that, in contrary, what your
Mm,
channel speaks about is very important,
yes.
because we are in that group age where we are, in our 50s,
Hmm.
40s, and we're looking after our, parents that are older. So I think, and we are also coming to be um, to that age as well, right?
Hmm.
So anyway, Nick, Vicky, please introduce yourself to the people, to the friend watching us. I'm
Sure.
lost for words.
So I'm Vicky, and I started a channel called Aging on Your Terms after I was laid off last year, right as we were in the thick of helping my husband's parents, who were just both recently diagnosed with dementia. And my layoff came at a time when he really needed my expertise as a healthcare operations person who understood the ins and outs of the US healthcare system to try to get them the care and assistance that they needed, because he works in the food industry, so he needed me to help him out a little bit. So I took a after I got laid off, I jumped full force into that. And when I did, I had people who I used to work with reach out asking me questions about aging in place and
Mm.
caregiving and dementia. And it got me thinking that I could share my information with more than just the 10 people who were calling me, because I really felt like there were so many of us in this boat of helping our parents, but also so many people who didn't have plans for themselves once we got to the same age as our parents. So
Yes.
that's why I'm sharing our good, bad, happy, and sad stories to motivate people to don't just take care of your parents and complain about it. Take care of your parents and learn what you need to have in place so that when your children have to take care of you, you already have things in place and they're not scrambling. They're not guessing. They're not trying to find bills stuck in the kitchen.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they need to do to step in and take care of you. So that's the purpose of this channel. A lot of people, don't want to hear it. I've actually gotten a lot of comments saying, "Oh, this is great. My mom, my mom, my mom." And I'm like, "No, what about
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Where's your will? Where's your trust? Where's your
Yeah.
healthcare power of attorney?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, your channel is very needed, Vicky, because you shared the video recently. I can't remember, my memory is not all here uh, already. It was about the light bulb that you had to
Yes.
change, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's me. I wouldn't have, even to today, until I watched your video. I was like, I don't want to stress my kid. I wouldn't want to ask or burden them. So I would
Mhm.
actually end up doing this because, well, I don't want to burden my children. And that taught me a lot. Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the things, and I actually have a video coming out soon about this, is the traits that we inherit from our parents. And so, for the most part, most of us Gen Xers, our parents were either silent generation, born between 1927 and 1944,
Yeah.
or, boomers who were raised by these people. And one of their biggest traits is resiliency and self sufficiency. They
Mm-hmm.
grew up either part of the depression or children of the depression. And so they
Yeah.
learned not to ask for help. They learned to pull up those bootstraps and do whatever they need to do to survive. And as
Yeah.
they got older, those traits, they held on to them. But as we get older, we need more help. And what was once a detriment back then, as you're seen as weak asking for help during the depression, it's not seen as weak asking for help now because, like my mom used to say, I'm asking you for help because you want me here. You want me around. You want me to be here. And if I take my 4'11" self and climb up the ladder and try to change the light bulb, then I'll fall and hit my head and you won't have me. So I get it. And I was really glad that my mom got it and she started asking for help. But
Yeah.
my in-laws, I think the difference between them is they were both I wouldn't say only children. My mother-in-law was an only child. My father-in-law was kind of an only child in that he was the youngest, and there was a huge age gap between him and his siblings. So technically, he was the youngest. So I think they never learned how to depend on anybody.
Right, right. And that's something that really touched me, resonates so much with me because asking help is something that I don't know how to do.
Mhm,
And so, Vicky, we're gonna
mhm.
put the subject
Yep.
aside because we started strong because you see, your channel is so interesting. I want to come back to the fact that, well, it's a marriage series.
Mhm.
So the topic of today is I try to be technical and bring something, nice banner to explain what we're doing. Let me see if I can do that.
Uh-huh.
Um, Supporting each other's while caring for aging parents, right? So
Yes.
can you talk to us a little bit about your relationship, your marriage, and first how just come to a little bit of the history of your marriage, and then we'll move on to this, so we get to know you better.
Sure. So, this is a story my husband will probably be very upset that I'm sharing with you, but I actually met my husband in high school, and we went to the same high school.
Wow.
And but we were not romantically involved at all. As a matter of fact, we were mortal enemies. We did not like each other at all. We met each other in band. We were both band geeks, and so, but he was a perfectionist. He thought his entire life was going to be he was going to be a professional musician, and I just did it for the fun. So when I wasn't taking it serious or I was making mistakes, he was the drummer, I was his bass player, and we just clashed because you're not taking this serious. This is serious business here. And I'm like, this is fun, dude. It's not that serious. So we pretty much fought all through high school. And then my dad, when my dad passed in 1994, my sister and I were cleaning out his place. We found our yearbooks, and he actually wrote something really nice in my yearbook. And I'm like, that's weird. We fought all the time. Why is he writing nice stuff? But we it was like weird. I saw his name in my yearbook that day, and a couple weeks later, his name came across my desk at my job. I worked at a local hospital, and I'm like, okay, that's twice I've seen this name. What's going on here? And then that name popped up again a couple weeks later. So I'm like, okay, that's 3 times in a month that I've seen this name. I'm supposed to call him. So I called the number in my yearbook. It was his parents. They gave me his real number. I called him. We went, got together, hung out, got caught up, and we've been together ever since. We've been together.
Wow. Why would
Um,
your husband be upset? Such a beautiful story.
he says it doesn't make him look good because I say we argued all the time.
No, it's such a beautiful, sweet story. Wow.
So I basically met my in-laws when I was 16. I didn't know they were going to be my
Wow.
in-laws, but I met them when I was 16. And one of the things that my mother said after, we started dating and she saw this was serious and we were gonna, we were engaged. She said to me, I think there might be something wrong with Michael's mom. And because she has sons, I don't think they can see it. And you're going to have to step up and be the daughter.
Oh, wow.
And that stuck with me. I mean, when my mom, the night before she died, she reminded me that I kept that promise, that I would treat
Ah,
Michael's mother as if she was her. And I never forgot that. And I think when you're around someone, you can't see what other people who've never seen that person see. And I think that's exactly what happened. People thought that my mother-in-law was quirky, but
yeah.
she was really suffering from, and I've talked about it in one of my videos, white matter disease. It's when you have unchecked either diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol, and it starts to
Mm.
impact the white matter. And so your
Oh,
ability to make sound judgment, it even impacts your ability to walk and your mobility over time. And so it was unchecked for a long time. So she had that. So when things started to deteriorate and my husband and I were like, we've got to step in and do this, we tag teamed as a team. And so you try not to parent the parent, but you end up having to parent the parent. And because
yeah.
it was his mom, I played bad cop. And that's how we tackled this. So that if they're mad, they can be mad at me, but not their
Not at
son.
this son. Yeah. Oh, wow.
And so that's how we've kind of managed caring for the elderly parents in a way that they still feel loved and protected, but just this mean old daughter-in-law who thinks she knows everything about healthcare is bossing us around.
Yeah. Wow. What your mom told you, that was so beautiful. She must have been an amazing woman.
I honestly say that my mother was only 4'11". I can't believe it. I'm 5'9". I take after the other side of the family.
Oh, we are the
Um,
same height.
and my mother was, to me, I think, the strongest person that I've ever met. My mother actually was a child of childhood diseases. So she had polio and scarlet fever as a child. And she was never supposed to be any of the things that she was supposed to be. She wasn't supposed to, live past a certain age. Well, she lived till 70. She wasn't supposed to have children.
Wow.
She had six.
Oh,
So all
wow.
these things that she said she wasn't going to do. And she taught us all of that self-reliant stuff and how to take care of yourself because still in her mind, she might not make it,
Yeah.
and so she instilled a lot of that um, caring, nurturing, but also self-preservation and resiliency that while are admirable traits when we get older are not so admirable because we don't want to raise our hands and ask for help.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes our marriage so great is that we both were raised by these children of the silent generation, and we both realized shortly after we got married that those traits were harming our marriage. We weren't acting like a married couple at all. We were acting independent.
Mm.
We went to work, and if something needed to be done, I just did it. I didn't ask. I didn't
Yeah.
discuss. We didn't communicate.
Yeah.
And we realized, oh my gosh, all those admirable traits that our parents taught us, they're ruining our marriage.
Yeah. I so can relate. Let me tell you a little story. The way my tribe in Gabon, because I'm from Africa and Gabon, our tribe are like, I don't know, I always call the Amazons. It's like we are women are like warriors.
Hmm.
So, and that's what I've been taught, to be self-reliant, be strong, to you don't need anyone. And so
Yes.
when I came into the marriage, we had a lot of issue because I was acting as a single woman. You know,
Yes.
I would take all the decision myself, the kids' decision, they were my kids. It was
Yes.
just a janitor, or I don't know how you call it. And once a friend came, she needed a place to stay, and she stays 4 months. And she was a blessing for our marriage
Mm-hmm.
because she came and she called me one day and she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Electricity, it's you. Plumbery, it's you. School kid, it's you. You are shadowing your husband. You don't give your husband his place. What's wrong with you?" And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it shocked me because I did not understand that's what I was doing. But it's true, I would change my kids' school, etc. And my husband, is from a patriarchal society in Cameroon where men lead.
Yes.
And my family-in-law saw that as well. They used to say, "You are overshadowing your husband. You don't give him his place." And I could not see it until that
Mm-hmm.
friend that. And once she told me that, I really did some work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot on myself, and tried to really discuss with my husband about what was happening and explaining that's how I grew up. I've been raised, I didn't know any better. And then I changed things like, well, if the light bulb was not working, if he didn't change it for 10 days or whatever, it will stay there. I wouldn't do it. I really gave him his
Yes.
place. So yeah, so there's something else as well, Vicky. You've been married for 26 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we both been married for the same. Is it 1998 or 90?
Yes, we got married in 1998.
Yeah, same here. And there's something also that really attracted me with you is when I got to know you, your channel was a faceless channel,
Yes.
right? Tell me a little bit about that. Why?
So every place in my life, I had to hide my introversion. So I'm the youngest of 6 children. And so
Oh,
I learned early on in life, go sit in the corner, be quiet, don't make waves. And but I didn't realize that it wasn't that I learned that, that was actually me. I was the quiet time in my family, being, the youngest of 6, there's 8 people running around this noisy house. Being that quiet type, that was just me, and that was my way of surviving. However, my mother discovered that I was hiding, and one of my elementary school teachers told her, "Vicki is really, really smart, but she will not talk in class." And
mm,
my mother said, "No, we're gonna fix that." And so we're so she put me into an acting camp over one summer to learn how to get over my introversion. And so I hear a lot of my fellow ADHD and autism content creators talk about masking. Yeah, I was the queen of masking my introversion.
yeah,
And so I just learned how in corporate America and in school to stuff it and do
yeah,
what I need to do and then go home and recover. So
yeah,
when I left corporate America, it was like this big sigh of relief that I would never have to mask again. I could just be recovered. And then everyone said, when we wanted your information and you decided to do a blog, we didn't want a blog. We wanted to hear your voice. We wanted to hear the stories the way you tell the stories. And I'm like, crap, I can't do this. So I came up with the faceless channel where I wouldn't have to be on. I could do the voiceovers or I could have the animated character, you know, stand in for me and I could still give that information and it wouldn't be so taxing on my introverted self.
yeah,
But the information that I'm sharing, it is that important that coming from a cartoon character versus me, I had to learn to get over it. And it's really strange is that I don't I don't feel like I thought I was going to feel. I thought that I would be burnt out and that I would be masking and I'd have to recover after every single video. Yeah, the first 2 kinda really set me back, but now it's like I don't have that anxiety. Yeah, I need to get better on camera, but
that's all of us.
I don't dread it anymore. I'm not scared of it, and because I think it's because I'm doing something that I'm truly passionate about, that I really wanna help people see the sooner we plan, the better our lives will be, and I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it better that I don't even feel the introversion anymore.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you showed off it. Although your cartoon character, these videos were amazing, so professionally made. They're very good. I'm so happy that you're showing your beautiful face today.
Thank you.
And yeah, and the other thing, because we're talking about marriage, we all, the other similarity that I have with you that drawn me into you as well, for the first year, because not on that channel, on my friend channel, I
Mhm,
started a faceless channel. I never wanted to be on the front of a camera. Never.
mhm,
Even social media, I hated it. LinkedIn, everything, I didn't want to. And I don't
mhm.
know, with the 50 happening when I was 45, etc., I feel drawn to share something. And for me, it was really share about Africa, to show
Mhm.
another face of Africa. I wanted to people to see Africa as it is and not how portrayed in the news. So I
Right.
started the channel, but I didn't want to show my face. So I was interviewing people on the street for 1 year. You know,
Mhm.
I was behind the camera, you could hear my voice, but you could not see me. And then I met a group of young YouTuber in Cameroon that really encouraged me to be on camera. If you see my first videos on camera, you're doing well. And I didn't have my husband on the front of me to talk to. That's something that is so cute when you share that. You tell us about that in a minute. And it was so
Yes.
hard. But I'm happy today that I'm able to be here with you, both of us here, because
Me
yeah,
too. Like I said, this has been a great community to help me see one, the importance of my channel, because we all think that what we talk about is important.
mhm,
But to hear other people, resonate with what I'm saying, other people, oh my God, me too, or I never thought of it that way, but now I'm going to do it that way. And
yeah,
so it's been really good. And you talk about marriage, and I think that the reason why this channel can actually start is because of our marriage. My husband is still living it. My mother-in-law is still alive, and we're still helping her a lot through losing my father-in-law, her diagnosis, having her be independent in her home, which is what we promised him that we would do, and we
yeah,
have to be a team to do that. But at the same time, him letting me tell the stories, and my secret is I can't talk to the camera. It's got to be someone there that I'm interacting with. And for him to
yeah,
sit behind the sit behind the camera and let me tell the stories and interacting with me, I can see whether or not I'm taking it too far, because I don't want to hurt him in any way. He's
yeah,
agreeing that we need to get these stories out there, but I don't think he's really had a lot of time to grieve, because we jumped straight
yeah,
into this, after my father-in-law had his fall in 2023. None of us thought that when I was laid off in August that we would be saying goodbye to my father-in-law 4 months later.
wow,
Um, Everything happened so quickly, and I don't think he's had a time to really adjust and grieve, because he jumped right back into, I still have my mom. I still have my mom. I got to make sure everything is taken care of from my mom. But at the same time, he's letting me tell his story,
yeah,
and while we're still living it. And so we don't know how it's going to all play out, but his willingness to sacrifice his feelings to share with other people who might be in the same situation, I think that is a testament of how we've grown in our marriage. And we've talked about loving the person through all phases of the marriage, because we change pretty much every single day.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that's a testament, because in the beginning, you had two independent people fighting, 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 fighting. And we've had to learn how to work together, and especially now working together with trust administration and caregiving and keeping two households running. It's a lot of stress, but I think those earlier lessons in our marriage is what's making it work right now.
Yeah. And to come to the fact that your partner and you caregiver for his mom, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so how do you handle the emotional impact into your couple, you know?
So it's all the lessons learned. So when the first person I took care of was my dad, and so I was 29 at that time. My sister and I, we
Wow.
jumped feet first into taking care of my dad, and I
Yeah,
mean taking care of him. We
yeah,
we wiped the nose, we wiped the butt, we did everything, and it broke my dad.
yeah,
My dad did not want us to see him that way. He's the parent. I change your diapers, you don't change my diapers. And I learned a lot from that. So each one of the next sets of caregiving, we learn from the next one. And so by the time we got to my in-laws, I've now gone through this about 5 or 6 times with different family members.
right,
And
right.
I said to him, I said, we need to take a hands-off approach in the day-to-day caregiving. And that's going to do two things. It's going to give your parents the dignity that they want, that their kids aren't seeing them in ways they don't want to be seen. And it's going to give you a reprieve that you can step back and still be a son,
Yeah,
and not have to be that person who's telling them what to do and how to do it, and putting them in situations that they don't want to be in, and then they start to resent you. So since my in-laws could afford it, we actually have a live-in caregiver, but that doesn't mean that we're not caregivers. We are 3 minutes away, 5 minutes if there's traffic, and we're
yeah,
there daily. We're checking in, we're doing things. We don't give them the bath. We don't change their clothes. We don't do things like that. But everything else, we are hands on in. And because I stopped working, I do a lot of the healthcare coordination, like
Wow.
when doctors don't act right, finding new doctors, when doctors aren't giving us the answers, getting the second and third opinions. So I run all of that so he doesn't have to, as he says, that's my language.
Yeah.
And so I run my language and he speaks in his language. And so he handles the finances of the trust administration, making sure the bills are paid, that their investments are taken care of, their taxes are done. And I do what I want to say the touchy feely. And I am teaching him as well that men like to fix.
Yeah.
And when they can't fix something, they think there's nothing for them to do. No, sit down and talk with mom, watch TV with mom, read a book with mom, learn how to do those touchy feely things, because that is what she's going to remember when she can remember. And those are going to be the times that you remember, not that you couldn't fix it. Because if you're always fixated on fixing things, you're just going to set yourself up for a world of hurt, because white matter disease, and then later on we found out before my father-in-law died that he had Parkinson's. These are things you can't fix. These are things you have to learn to live with, and things that you have to learn to figure out what you can do to make them feel better, knowing you can't fix it. And I'm glad I'm not a guy
I know.
because that's a lot of pressure that you have to fix everything.
I know. I keep telling my husband, now I'm like, okay, I need to talk to you. I don't need a solution. I
Yes.
just want to talk. Just listen to me. You don't have to give me or try to fix anything because
Yes.
that's in them, they're protectors. So they want to fix and everything.
Yep.
So, I guess you have a lot of experiences, right? Because you've gone through your parents, his parents. So, but what I want to ask you is how has it been times where being caregivers impacted your couple, maybe feeling burnout, and I
Yeah.
see that you've divided the responsibility quite well.
In the
um
beginning, yes. In the beginning, there was a lot of burnout because we didn't know what we didn't know. And so
okay.
that's why I talk now a lot about the traits of the silent generation and how they grew up with not needing help and not wanting help. But as we started down this road, there was a lot of frustration. I didn't
Okay.
like the way he was handling things, or he didn't like the way I was handling things. And there was so much to be handled.
Yeah.
We're working full time, we're handling this, and there was a lot of burnout and a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But once we got with the right doctors and they helped us see your parents aren't being difficult. Your parents have cognitive disorders that they don't see themselves the way we see them. They don't see that they need the walker. They see themselves as 20 and can walk straight up and down. And that resonated with me like, crap. I've been approaching this the entire wrong way this entire time. They're not fighting me. They are living in a version of themselves that doesn't exist, but they can't see it.
Yeah.
And once we realized that, then I think that helped take the burden off of us to keep trying to fix things. And also, it helped us see that, you know what, we're better as a team and we're better off giving some of this work away as well. So that's why the live with caregiver.
Hmm.
And that is why my husband forces me to go away for self care.
Yeah.
um,
I was coming to
because
that.
because
Yes.
even though we're still into the day to day, even though like I said we don't do the activities of daily living, um, we still I still feel like it's my job to make sure it's done right,
Yeah.
and he says it's his job to make sure I understand that it's not my job to make sure everything is done right. But yeah, the stress in the beginning, it was really hard. And I think it was really hard too, because when you go from a kid like me, I lost my dad when I was 29. And then, my mom died in 2010. So I've been what I want to call an orphan for a while. And you come from a place where you had your two parents and they were fully functioning. And then all of a sudden, one day you realize the one parent who hasn't been fully functioning for a while is worse off than you thought. And then the one person who you thought was the pillar and the rock in your family, your dad, now can't stand and walk anymore. And it was a big, huge mourning process for my husband to see two parents going down at the same time.
Yeah.
I
Def-
had it spread, and having to deal with the stress of that, having to jump in, with both feet and take care of them and try to, I shouldn't say that, take over where they didn't want to be taken over
yeah.
so that you can take care of them. And it was really hard for him. And so I'm glad that I learned early in life how to deal without having parents. I learned how to deal with taking care of parents so that I could help him see. But it, like I said, it didn't take away the stress in the beginning. I think it was a good 6 to 9 months where we were both pulling our hair out and, taking it out on each other.
Yeah, I can imagine because it's still a lot of responsibility. And I can see
Yeah.
that you really have a very good connection and understanding with each other and great communication as well at balancing your responsibilities.
Yeah, it was like I said, I think it was, those early marriage lessons and going through marriage counseling early, because
Oh,
it was
that's
a
interesting.
and it
Okay.
was a and it was a once we realize, hey, we're not fixing this on our own, but we don't want to get divorced.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need some help in getting this fixed, and having a marriage counselor come in and help us see two headstrong, independent people how you need to work together. And yeah, it's okay to disagree. It's okay not to have the same beliefs, but what's not okay is to have this destructive, well, fine, if it's not my way, then it's the highway, and I'm not going to speak to you for 3 weeks, and I'm just going to do what the heck I want, forget you. So I think that having that early on set us up for this phase in life. Because I can tell you, when my mom was sick, the way my husband was with my mom was completely different than what he was with his parents, because he honestly felt that his parents were just being difficult and that they just didn't want to listen. And it wasn't until he really understood what cognitive decline does, and that cognitive decline manifests in multiple ways, that he understood that, crap, that wasn't my parents that was talking to me that way. That was the
Mhm.
Parkinson's dementia, or that was the white
Yeah.
matter disease.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's
Because yeah,
heavy.
we've been called everything but children of God. So
Oh, but that was going to be my next question, because although you have that great relationship where you work well together at helping your parents, seeking professional help is extremely important too, because it's still a lot in your emotional,
mhm,
in your couple, that it can bring a strain to your marriage.
yeah,
um
it can be. And I will be honest with you. So my mother-in-law and I had a contentious relationship from the second she found out we were dating.
oh, okay.
And look, back then it was, your mother is such a witch. What's wrong with your mother? I can't believe this is what's wrong with your mother. Fast forward to now where I'm taking her to neurology appointments and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with her. And there's this epiphany that this has been going on since back then, because now that we understand what's wrong with her and we have her on medications that won't reverse it, but they help to alleviate some of the stress.
Okay.
And I'm going to probably choke up right now, but
Okay.
December 19th of 2023 was like the best day of my life. My mother-in-law gave me a hug for the first time that was a real hug, kissed me, and told me she loved me and
Wow.
that she appreciated everything that I have done to help her, because she couldn't see that before because she wasn't getting the proper treatment.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so that day will live with me forever, because my mom was right. She needed me. And
Yeah.
I'm glad. It took a while. It took a lot longer than what I would have wanted it to be, but we finally got there.
Yeah.
And she's getting the help that she needs. And the relationship, even with us, is like, so it's the relationship I wish we would have had on day one, but
Yeah.
nobody could see that she needed help. They just thought she's quirky. She's always been cantankerous. But yeah, so So yeah, December 19th will live with me forever. I came bouncing in the door because she would always tell me, "Oh, great, she's here again." I'm like, "I'm like a fungus. You can never get rid of me." And so one day I came bouncing
Yeah.
through the front door and I said, "The fungus is here." And I didn't get a snarky comment. She goes, "But you're the sweetest fungus, and I just love everything that you do for me."
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
God.
"Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
And we all just had a nice little cry. We all just had a nice-
That is so beautiful. And I guess, so much weight must have been released all these years thinking that it was something to do with you when she was just not receiving the right treatment, right?
Exactly. And it was that what I call that preservation deception that I talk about, where if I'm not diagnosed with anything and I'm not taking any medication, then there's nothing wrong with me. And, you know, there was a misconception, back in the day when they were growing up, that if something was mentally wrong with you, they just shipped you off to the state hospital. And so I now understand that hiding, that not wanting the doctor to find anything so that I wouldn't lose my life. I wouldn't be sent away to a state hospital like my mom or my dad or
Yeah.
my cousins and people that they saw this happen to. Like I said, knowing all of this stuff, it just really puts a different light on the stress of our early relationship.
Yeah.
And it really helps me want to champion, hey guys, our parents may not just being difficult. There could be something wrong that we're not aware of.
Right.
And it's up to us to try to help them because sometimes they can't help themselves. Not and I get that there are some relationships out there with parents where, it really is toxic, but I'm glad my mother saw that this wasn't a toxic relationship and planted that seed in me, you know, in 1998. Like, it only took till, 2023 because when you don't have the authority to do things, you can't make someone go to the doctor.
Yeah,
But then
absolutely.
your husband gets power of attorney in 2023 and you can make them go to the doctor.
Yeah, and then you become the the bad guy, but for their own good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Vicky, it's true that we talk a lot about how you your husband and you are looking after your parents, right? His
Hmm.
parents now, his mom now. So on your channel you talk a lot, you advise, right? And
Hmm.
as you said earlier, how we are, yes, at the age where we're looking after our parent, but we also need to learn for ourselves later on, right?
Yes.
So the question I want to ask you, for you and also for the people that are watching you, how can we plan for our future, right? So because we'll come to that age,
Yes.
so
So many people think that planning for the future is I have my retirement accounts and I'm going to go travel the world. And they don't think about the what if. And the what if is, what if I have an accident and I can't speak for myself? Or what if I'm going to go on this world cruise and be gone for a year? What happens to my stuff, my money, my children, whatever? And so the what if plans for me is it is estate planning. And a lot of people believe that estate planning is only for rich people, and it's not. It is for everybody because estate planning, it's more than just what who's going to get your stuff when you die. It's about if I become incapacitated, like my in-laws, and I can't speak for myself, who's going to step in and make sure I get proper medical treatment? Who's going to step in and make sure my bills and my taxes get paid and I keep a roof over my head? It's all about those types of plans. And that's what we're doing. So my aunt passed away when I was 30 and she didn't have a will, and we had to go through a crazy probate case because some realtor forged her name on a will and said she left everything to him. That
wow.
will was signed, dated, and notarized 4 days after she died. So just the date alone should have tossed that out, but it did not toss it out. We spent 7.5 months fighting this case in court. And what I tell people is that made me run to an estate attorney. Is like I'm just like my aunt. My aunt had no children. I have no children. Um, and I didn't have anything back then, but what if something were to happen to me and I die? What's going to happen? And with couples, we always think, oh, I'm going to leave it to my husband. What if you guys go at the same time?
Yeah.
Or what if he goes before you and you forget to update your paperwork because maybe you're incapacitated with dementia? You put these plans in place that says, hey, if something happens to me, my husband gets to speak for me. If he can't speak for me, then I want my oldest son, or I want my niece, or I want my cousin, or I want my sister. And you have all of that in place and you share with everybody, this is what I want. This is how I want it to happen. And you show them where all the documents are kept so that they can access them at any point in time where they need to come in and step in and take care of you. And I think that's one of the biggest things is we don't think anything bad will ever happen.
Exactly.
And so my mother-in-law, one of the things that she says, and she is, well, we had each other. Okay, so my father-in-law was 89 when he passed. My mother-in-law was 81. And in their mind, they still had each other. They couldn't change a light bulb, but they had each other. And that's the mentality that I'm trying to get people to see. At 89 and 81, you don't have each other. If you fall, no, that 89-year-old man can't pick you up.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if you don't have the cognitive ability to understand that, hey, when he falls, instead of trying to pick him up, I need to pick up the phone and call, you're not there for each other. And people, oh, that'll never happen to me, that'll never happen to me. It happens every single day. So you put these plans in place, their paperwork. It's not that hard to do. It's not morbid at all. You're just setting yourself up for a future. It's kind of like car insurance.
Yeah.
I don't plan to have an accident, but I'm
But
insured if I have one. I'm
yeah.
insured if I have. Um, so it's just getting out of that mindset that everything will take care of itself. But if you look at your life, nothing's ever taken care of itself. You've had to do something so that it fell in place for you.
Exactly. I want to add something. In my culture and in Africa, talking about arrangement for what can happen,
Uh-huh.
or when we're aging is taboo.
Yes.
So to this day, even my mother-in-law is 85. Well, the thing in Africa is we look after our elders, so
Uh-huh.
they live at home. But like if she doesn't have a will, but you cannot go and talk to her about a will because it's like you wishing for her to die. So it's
Right.
very, very difficult. And we've been talking with my husband and the family just to ask her at least what she would like to happen when she's not anymore.
Right.
But to have this conversation, and it's a lot in the African, the Black community. I don't know how it is in America. If is this something that you
I think it
face?
I think it's really prevalent in America, and it's probably
Okay,
back to our African roots that
okay,
it's been passed down that you don't talk about those things. Those things are very, very morbid.
yeah,
And just having the issues that we've had, that's changed my mindset about it.
okay,
And so that's saying, okay, I got to break this cycle because it really isn't morbid. It really is the best thing that you can do for your kids. And I'll give you an example of this. My dad never, ever, ever wanted to talk about any of this stuff. And one day he called my sister and I to his place and said, hey, um, I want you to meet Henry. Henry is from, I forgot the name of the insurance company, and he's here. We're going to do a prepaid burial plan because I want to make sure everything is taken care of so that you guys don't have to do anything.
wow,
And we were both like, what? You never ever want to talk about this stuff, and now you're doing a prepaid burial plan. My dad passed away 9 months later. All I had to do was pick up the phone and call Henry, and everything was taken care of. They picked him up. They took him to the funeral home. He had picked out his casket. He knew what clothes he wanted. He knew what he wanted in his program. All of that stuff was taken. It was just one single phone call. When my aunt died without a will, and my grandfather grieving, my mother grieving, having to watch them go to the funeral home, be paraded by the row of caskets, and they start you with the baby caskets. So you see the baby caskets first, and then you get to the bigger caskets, and
wow,
then having to pick the casket they want to see their loved one in, having to pick the color, having to pick everything. For me, that was like, I want to be dad. I don't know what made dad do that because he was in the same boat as everybody else, but I just saw how much easier that was. And that is, like I said, it was like that light bulb moment. There was a, it was about 16 years between my dad and my aunt passing. And my sister and I both flashed back and said, we're doing what dad did.
Yeah. Oh, completely. My mom did something similar that was shocking for us in Africa. She went as far as building the, how do you call it in English? Like the house. It's not a house. I don't know the name.
Uh,
The
the mausoleum.
Yes, she
Hmm.
went to, she prepared a funeral. She did a will. In Africa, she was, I mean, when she died, she was 73 in
Hmm.
2011. But she, that was not into
Hmm.
our, she was a futurist woman. I always said about my mom that she was an angel that was passing on earth,
Hmm.
because this woman was, she didn't want us to suffer or to struggle, so she prepared. She had cancer, so she knew she
Yes.
will go. And so she arranged, when we came for her funeral, it was just so smooth because she had arranged everything. But there's something that you said that was very important. And that's why I think your channel is something that is extremely important for all of us to hear what you have to say. Because the will is one thing that, when you write a will, to tell everyone,
Hmm.
to not just keep it with your
Yes. You have to communicate.
you have to communicate, because what happened with my mom is she did a will, but there was something happening in Africa. There's a lot of corruption. The
Yes.
will got was lost,
Yes.
right? And so a lot happened. For my husband told me something about that. Is that today we are in the era of, we're on YouTube right now, technology. And he was thinking of something like, on the top of the wheel is to make a video where you say, I'm in a sound mind, etc.
Yes.
And that's what I want for my wheel, and to send it everywhere.
Hmm.
So it cannot be contested because you are saying it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the only thing that is I want to make sure that depending on the country or the system, what they consider legally binding. And I
Yeah.
know here in the United States, it has to be a document, wet signature, notarized, but everybody needs to communicate that. And I really love the idea of saying, hey, this is me. This is
Yes.
what I want. I'm
Yeah.
reading my will to you, and I want you guys to understand this, and there's no other copy. I think that's a great idea, and I just want to just make sure that, it's legally binding wherever their people are doing this, so check with a lawyer.
Yeah.
But that's the problem is people don't want to talk about it. Like my father-in-law had a trust. Well, a trust is for when you're alive. A will is for when you die.
Yeah.
And when we ask for the trust, well, you can get it from the lawyer when we die. I'm like, no, that's not what a trust is. So he had it, but he didn't want to share. He didn't want to talk about what was in it, even though he had created it, decades ago. But I don't know if that was the dementia chick kept kicking in and he didn't know what it was about, or honestly, it was still that we don't talk about these things. We can't talk about these things.
Yeah. So if you had an advice to give to couples, about maintaining their relationship, right? Maintaining their relationship through, caregiving duties, what would that be? What do you, like, example of what do you do to keep, the connection with your husband? We took 26 years, that's not nothing, you know?
The advice that I have to say is that family is family, and you got your blood and you've got the ones that you married into. And,
Mm,
we have some obligations to family, but you have a bigger obligation to your partner. And for you guys to really sit down and get on the same page as to how that partnership with caregiving is going to be, and that it works for both of you. It can't just be one-sided where one person benefits from somebody doing something and the other person has a wonderful great life.
yeah.
So having that partnership for us, like I said, playing to our strengths really helped us to be able to divide up the work, but also understanding that, hey, we're in a boat where I come from, family where you always take care of your own. We're not going to have strangers. We're
Mm,
not going to have strangers. However, having a professional come in is a lifesaver if you can afford that. And if you can't afford that, there are some places where here in the United States, depending on how much you make, you can get free help as well to help with some of that burden. It may not be a live-in. It could be someone that comes in a couple of times a day or a couple of times a week, but to give you some respite. But I think we always think that nobody can do it better than us.
mm-hmm.
And while that is true in a lot of sense, if you're taking care of their life, your life, and your marriage, something's going to suffer. And usually it's the marriage. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you have your marriage is the first thing that you take care of and
Mm,
figure out how to juggle the rest of it in there. Because
yeah.
at the end of the day, the job can go away like mine did. When the parents pass, they're gone. You've put such a strain on your marriage. Is your marriage now the next thing to go?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yes, that's very important. So, is there one, if you had only one advice, although what you just said, it's very important. And, I wish for everyone to hear it because it's like when you, empty nesters, right? You put so much strain into looking after your
Mm-hmm.
kids. And then one day the kids are gone and you like looking at each other and you actually don't know each other at all because you
Right.
never prioritize that relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so very important. So
Yeah.
if they,
My advice then would be marriage care. Like we always talk about self care. It's
yeah,
marriage care, and let that be the
oh
first thing that you do because when all is said and done, and like I said, I'm not trying to be morbid in any way, shape, or form. You're caring for someone who will be going away.
yeah,
You need to make sure that what you have with your partner isn't sacrificed while you're helping that person in that final phase of their life.
very important. It's important that yes, this is important, but you said something. We need to prioritize the marriage. How, for advice for the other people watching, like it's a marriage series. How do we take time for ourselves, although we have that responsibility?
Yeah. So one of the things that we do to prioritize our marriage and ourselves is we in the beginning, like I said, we had that contentious relationship where we're, two independent people trying to come together, and we made that commitment to go to counseling, to learn how to work as a married couple and not as two individuals under the same roof. And
Mm,
during that, we learned that, you know what? The person that you married in 1998 is not the same person that you're going through counseling with here
yeah,
in 2008. So you have to learn to evolve and adapt with each other so that you could create this united front. You're a team. And the person that you learn that, she's not going to have the same interests that she had when she married you, and you're not going to have the same interests that you had when you got married. And that's fine. And that's okay. It's that Medea a quote that I gave you that
yeah.
you have to learn, you got to say I do multiple times. And so by
I
us learning how to
love
say
that.
I do multiple times, we've learned that, hey, this is a funny one. My husband loves to make my coffee for me in the morning.
That is
And the
beautiful.
person that I was when he first started making my coffee was, I want this much coffee and that much sugar.
Mm, mm.
And as I get older, I couldn't handle that anymore. And so one day I actually said, could you make it again, but this time with less sugar? And his little feelings were hurt because
Oh,
I
yeah,
always make your coffee this way. And that was that realization that, hey, what we learned in marriage counseling is now coming to fruition. I have now changed over time. And I no longer like my coffee that sweet. I like my coffee a lot less sweet. And we had to actually have a talk about that so that
yeah,
his feelings weren't hurt that no, 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 it's not that you make terrible coffee. I've changed. And we've learned now that we have to have those conversations all the time so that the other person understands that what worked in 2008 now doesn't work in 2018 or 2023, but it doesn't mean that you don't work. And
yeah,
these are just choices, these are just changes, but I still love you, and hopefully you still love me, but I want you to change my coffee.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and I understand that. Yes.
And so I guess I think having that marriage counseling early. I think so many people put marriage counseling off until it's like leading to divorce. And by then you're
Mm.
just like set in your ways that you want a divorce. And for us it was, I don't think we really had a lot of great marriage examples. Like his parents we're married, but we don't talk about anything tough. We just stuff it and we just keep it quiet. And my parents were split, so I didn't have that example over there. So having to learn
Oh,
how to be married, because marriage is a job, and I think people get married and they think, oh, I said I do and now great. But I mean, look
yeah.
at J Lo's now what, on divorce number 4. Not everybody. Marriage is a job, and just because I don't like something one day, it shouldn't lead to divorce. It should lead to, how do we make this work? Because one, the grass isn't greener with somebody
Yeah.
else,
Yep.
and two, is it really worth a divorce just because I want less sugar in my coffee?
Exactly. I think divorce, I'm so sorry for what I'm going to say because a lot of people won't like it, is the easiest option
Yes.
than staying married,
Hmm.
sorry, because marriage is work. And for me, marriage is a decision. Staying married that long is a decision. Because as you say, you're not the same people. You evolve, you grow, you change, and you have to adapt. This is what I loved when you did that. You said that you brought that comment about Madia.
Uh-huh.
You have to say, can you have to
Yeah,
say,
you have to say I do over and over again, because your partner changes. The person that they were when you got married, not the same person, probably even a year from now.
yeah,
So you're just saying I do over and over again, because everyone is going to change and adapt. And like I said, the advice that I got when I first got married, it was terrible advice. My husband's aunt and uncle told me, well, he doesn't have to know when he's wrong, so just keep it to yourself. My father-in-law, you just keep quiet to keep the peace. And all that keeping quiet just leads to you blowing up, because you've never expressed your feelings and your desires and your needs, and you're feeling depleted and you're not getting anything out of it. Coupled with two strong-willed people
yeah,
who didn't even know how to be a team. So you have to put in the work to learn how to be a team. And I think that's what carries us through now, 26 years later. When my mother was sick and we were living far away, and made a decision to move, to rent out my friend's house to be closer to my mom, it also gave us a break from each other as well, because we were going through
mm,
one of those contentious times where we were both in changing, and we weren't seeing eye to eye, and we weren't learning the lessons from the marriage counseling. And but it put that into perspective. And I'll never forget when I told him, I said, look, I'm going to go, let's take this break. My mom needs me. My sister needs me to help with my mom. Let's take this break. And his exact words to me, but why can't I go? Why can't I go with you? Well, you can't come with me because you don't want to do the work. When you're ready to do the work, then you can come with me. And so within like about a month or so of doing the work, he was like, yeah, my marriage isn't worth that argument. My marriage isn't worth the disagreement. My marriage isn't worth us being apart to take care of our mom. We need to be together taking care of mom.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
so it's like I said, it's a lot of work. People don't like to hear it. People don't want to hear it. Like I said, when you look at the
No,
celebrities and everybody glamorizes celebrities, I don't think there's anything glamorous about, I'm now on marriage number 5, because you should
no.
have just dated.
Yeah, exactly. That's why on my channel you will see that I'm very transparent about the trouble. I
Hmm.
even hold back a bit to not offense, and because I'm very open, I want people to know that marriage is not Cinderella. Marriage is not. It's work that you have to put into it. If you
Hmm.
don't put any work into it, it's not going to work, and you have to adjust all the time. So yeah, celebrity are never ever been, interested by whatever the way they glamorize everything, and divorce is like, I don't know, so easy.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm not telling people that they need to stay in abusive or toxic relationships, but
no,
simple arguments or simple we don't agree on something, those should not be, grounds for
for
divorce. And
divorce. Exactly.
I've changed so many different times during my marriage of what I want to be, how I want to be, what I want to do. Um, but one of the things that I can say is a stress eating, the up and down of the weight. I always tease my husband because he tells me I am the most beautiful person that he's ever met, no matter
Wow.
what weight I'm at, no matter whether I'm just waking up in the morning or whatever. And I used to go, "What do you want? What are you buttering me up for? What is it?" And it's not. My husband sees me as beautiful regardless of what I am. And it took marriage counseling for me to understand that he wasn't buttering me up. This is him. He doesn't
Yeah.
care. He married you for you. And even though I've changed physically several times over our marriage, the one thing
Yeah.
that was the contentious part was, you know, more intellectual. It wasn't the physical part of the changes that were the problems. It was that we no longer believe things are the same way, or we don't see eye to eye on this one. And that was the hard part. And having to learn to understand that we don't have to think exactly the same in order to
Yeah.
be a couple.
Exactly. You don't have to agree on everything. And you did a good point. You said a good point earlier. It's not about, staying in an abusive marriage, or if it doesn't work anymore, there's the
Mhm.
reason why you need to divorce. But very often people are just getting into the marriage thinking it's easy, just the bubbly feeling, I love you. And they sit, don't think over
Mhm.
that, and are surprised when problem arise, and they don't take the time to maybe address this issue or see a therapist, somebody to help them.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So many people get married for the wedding day, not
oh
for
my
the
goodness,
marriage.
I know, we
Not
know
for the
this one.
marriage.
We big on that in Africa. Okay, the marriages are like, that video that made on my friend channel. There's a video that blew up a little bit. Is because I was actually denouncing that in Africa the marriage is not about, like, the couple will like have debt just for that single day,
Mhm.
just to show up, because the party need to be the biggest, the dress need to be the longest, but
Yes.
what happened after that day? There's no bills to pay. There's no kids to raise. That's not the end of, and that's not marriage. And you see these people sometimes they have that marriage that they will be paying for the next 10 years, but they
Exactly.
divorce after 1 year.
Mhm.
Left with that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah,
Exactly. I think we glamorize the wrong things in society, and we don't glamorize the hard work. When
mm-hmm.
you go back just a couple of generations, people they married, and it was for better, for worse, for for death do us part, because
Yeah,
they knew, hey, I'm marrying this person because our families get along together, and we're gonna have great kids, and we're just gonna stay together.
yeah,
And I think people think that, oh no, I'm a woman of the 2000s and I've got choices and I've got this. And guys, oh yeah, there's more women that are hotter than that out there. But guys, it's not about looks. It's not about possessions. It really is about having that partner through life, that
yeah.
someone that you can lean on and
Partnership.
depend on.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
just like you have best friends from high school, you didn't always get along, but they're still your friend. It's the same thing that's happening with your marriage. You don't
yeah.
always get along, but that's still my husband.
Exactly. Wow, beautiful. I mean, that's a beautiful way to end, this discussion. I will talk to you until tomorrow. It's so interesting for me, it's something that is so not spoken enough in my culture. And I hope through this video, people from my culture will be able to hear what you have to say, because often it's easier to accept something coming from an outsider. You see what I'm
Hmm.
talking about? So I do hope that I will share this video really with my community, those that can speak English, of course,
Hmm.
because we should. And so I hope they'll be able to take something from it, bring it home, and do changes, try to talk to the parents and bring them to understand that it's not that we want them to be gone,
Right.
we just want to make sure that things are done in a way, in a loving way.
Yes.
Okay. And it's the best gift that they can give to themselves and to their children, to their family. So thanks ever so much. Yeah,
No,
go
thank
on.
you for having me, and thank you for circling me back.
No, that's okay. That's okay. No problem at all. Anything else you want to add? Any
No,
last
just a
word,
big
or
no,
you're
just a
good?
big thank you, because I think we're building such a great, wonderful, and strong community. And
Oh, yeah.
I came to YouTube completely scared and afraid of YouTube, and it has actually really been a blessing. Like all these, videos you see, YouTube changed my life. I honestly do believe that YouTube has changed my life.
Oh, agree. Totally agree with you. I'm a loner. I'm somebody who do things by myself. I don't have a lot of friends. I can count them. One. I'm trying to say two. But YouTube again, so many friends. I call you my friend.
Hmm.
Uh, People that I can resonate with, people in the same stage of life where it's amazing. So now, Vicky, can you tell our audience what they would find on your channel?
So on my channel, as I pivot from faceless to
Yeah.
showing my face, you're going to find all the reasons why I believe you need to have an estate plan. I'm going to share with you what the individual pieces of an estate plan are. I have an upcoming series that I will be debunking 14 myths about estate planning that's probably holding you back from creating one. And I'm also going to share with you why it is important to do this now while you are young. And I won't try to, have this, suspense moment, but it is cognitive decline. As we get older, we lose our ability to make sound judgment. So the sooner that you can make these plans while you understand, the better off you're going to be. So that's what you're going to find on my channel. I'm revamping some of my previous um, you know, talking head videos so that they are a little bit more relevant to now. But it's just really important to understand that what these documents are, how they're going to help you. Now, I don't walk you through every single thing about estate planning, because for me, the focus is not how to maximize your tax savings or anything like that. It's really about getting the documents that you need so that you are taken care of in when the need arises. If you become incapacitated or need to be away for a while, your family knows exactly what to do. And I'm also talking about funeral planning as well, so that
Wow.
your family going through this grief. Because like I said, we went from my father-in-law walking around the house to him being bedridden within a couple of days, not being able to walk or talk within 24 hours. And
Oh,
having my husband go through and try to process all that. And now I got to bury my dad, was something that we didn't want to have happen for us, for anybody who might have to take care of us in the future. So you really wanted to start now. It's never too soon to start. Like I tell you, there's never too soon to start for retirement planning. It's never too soon to start for aging planning.
exactly. It's never too soon. That's, something that we will leave the audience with. I think it's very important.
Yeah, and
And
because it's just when you think about this and you relate this to marriage too, is I've been with my in-laws were together for 61 years before my father-in-law
61
passed.
years.
Can
Wow.
you imagine the grief and the pain of having to plan a funeral? Instead of what my dad did, I could just pick up the phone and make a call, and I don't have to go through all of that.
Exactly.
And
And
I can just deal with my grief.
it's the best gift ever.
Hmm.
That's what I tell my husband. It's the best gift ever, because while you are in so much trauma, you're mourning, that's not the time that you want to be talking and arranging things, right? And
Exactly, because it's all business.
yeah,
For the
yeah,
funeral homes, it's all business. It costs
completely.
this, it costs that, it costs this,
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
can't
it's
do
very
anything until
cool.
you pay us. And it's a
Yeah,
lot of added stress, and it's almost a little bit cold. I realize a lot of them are really
it
nice, and they
is.
put you
Yeah,
up in a nice room with the tissues and tell you they really care about you. At the end of the day, it's business. So why not take care of business when you have a business mindset?
exactly. And yes, I definitely don't want that for my kids. We're traveling a lot, all of us, like my husband
Hmm.
and I. So you never know. It could be that we're both gone. And I definitely don't want my kid to have to organize things. And even for my husband, to have to stress about what to do, etc. For
Yeah.
us, yes, a
Yeah.
lot of Africans want to be buried in Africa, which is an added stress. If it was just me, I say, plant me under a tree and then leave me alone. But they're like, no, if African people hear me here, they're gonna be so mad at me because,
Yes.
yeah. But Vicky, it was such a pleasure to talk to you, and you have
Thank you for
so
having me
much.
on and letting me go through my tangents.
No, I learned a lot. Through that interview, I learned so much. And I'm sure that the people that are going to view, that need that video will have learned a lot, because it's true that you said at the beginning, your topic is not something that people want to hear about. Yeah, because people don't want to be told the
Mhm.
truth. People don't, rather pretend it doesn't exist, leave it for tomorrow. But not. There's something that we all share is
Mhm.
that we all going to die one day. That's the only certainty we have in this world. So why not
Exactly.
prepare for it, right? The best gift, we're talking about legacy, but I think the best thing we can leave as well to our family, to our partner, because it's the marriage series, is to have that sorted. So
Yes.
they don't have to not only mourn you, but also try to arrange anything. I know I wouldn't be able to do that. I think I'll tell his family, deal with it. I don't want
Yeah,
to do anything
it's
with.
very
Yeah.
tough. Like I said, when we went through with that with my aunt, what got me was having to walk past the infant caskets, and
Oh
it just
yes, you
like broke
said, I
me.
know.
It
Yeah,
just broke me. I'm like, oh my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
this is harsh. This is
yeah,
harsh.
yeah.
And that was just the first phase of it. We hadn't even gone through, all the other 25 decisions you have to make.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, do you have any other social media where you want, people to
Yes.
follow you?
So I also have the blog. Like I said, I started as a blog where I was doing writing these as creative stories instead. And so everything is aging on your terms. So the blog is agingonyourterms.com, as well as Instagram and Facebook is aging on your terms.
Right. Family, friends. So I invite you to go to Vicky's channel. You will learn a lot. And she has a beautiful personality, as you can see here. Please
Well,
subscribe to
thank you
her
so much.
channel, say hi, and be part of that conversation. And maybe you have a video that you want, a question that you have. Maybe you can ask Vicky and she can
Yes.
make a video about it. Right?
Yes, because like I said, I have all of this in me, but I want to get it out the way that you need it. So if I
Yes.
was thinking of not putting this out until December and you need that answer now, please let me know, because my goal is to have you all experience the end of life the way my dad helped me experience end of
Yeah.
life, as well as, planning for being able to make those decisions. We had to steal my in-laws' trust in order to give them the end of life that they said they wanted,
Yeah.
instead of them working with us years ago so that we could have had this in place before. I'm sad that my father-in-law didn't get a chance to reap the benefits of some of the decisions that he made, because by the time we got the trust and got everything my husband instilled into those positions and posts that he put him in, it was a little bit too late for him to really enjoy the latter part of his life. But we're going to make sure that my mother-in-law reaps the benefits of the planning that they did but didn't share.
Wow, beautiful. And what I retain as well, that you had two amazing parents who gift you before leaving. Your mom with that advice,
Hmm.
and then your dad, the way you prepare things for making things so easy for you. That's so beautiful that he gives me, you know. Anyway, Vicky, thanks ever so much.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
So I hope I will see you again on the channel at some point, because I think it's a conversation that doesn't happen once,
Nope.
that people really need to hear about it. And we are in our 50s. My channel is all about women over 50. So we are, you know,
Hmm.
we already passed that time where we need to really be prepared and have all of that in place.
Yeah,
So
and I think 50 is a really good time, because we're now at that age where we're thinking about the future.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not too late, but we don't want to push it too far.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you very much. So we're gonna say goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye because, yeah, it was such a pleasure to spend that time with you. So, family, don't forget, go to Vicky's channel, say hi, subscribe, and I'll say to you, see you tomorrow with the next video. I don't know yet which one it's gonna be, but anyway, bye bye for now.
Bye. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Bye.